Hello, this is Mish, and welcome to another Strain review. So this one is for Season 3, Episode 4, Gone But Not Forgotten. So instead of doing the review and talking about a timeline, I'm just going to talk about groups of people, as it kind of makes more sense and easy to explain, I guess, the plot progression that way. So let's start with talking about Quinlan and Ephraim and what happens with those characters. So we see after the last episode, Quinlan, a severe butt kicking, I guess you could say. He got shot a lot. So Ephraim is, I guess, being a bit of a medic and healing him, getting some of the bullets out of him. And we see that he is not dead as well. So the prophecy about him after he kills the master, he will die. Either that is not true or the master is not dead. We'll learn more about that in a couple minutes. So yeah, Quinlan is okay in the end. Ephraim's healing him up. So then Ephraim, I guess, confronts Satrakian and Fett about what happened. How come he was with Quinlan with the Lumen, and obviously they're not happy. They took it a lot worse than I would have thought. I thought they would accept what he was doing was right, but I mean, admittedly, he went behind their back and he betrayed them as well. So it's a bit of a tough one there, but they weren't happy and they kicked him out. So we see as well that Ephraim goes back, continues on drinking as he does, and he reunites with Dutch as well. So Dutch turns up at Fett's, I guess, fortress, I want to say, because it's a cool little fortress place. And obviously she's in a bad way too. She's still upset about what happened to her friends, so she is heavily drinking too. So with those two together, it's probably not a good combination. It really legitimizes their issues and all the alcohol that they will consume. And up to, obviously, negative things will happen from that. And we'll see what happens next time. But Quinlan, he also does, he recovers and manages to go with Satrakian to visit the Ancients. Now this is where I guess we got confirmation that the Master is not dead. And we also get confirmation that the Crimson Worm that Satrakian saw escape was the Master himself. That was pretty obvious, right? But it was good to hear that from the Ancients. But it was funny as well, Quinlan's response. You was kind of expecting him to turn around and like scream, "Why didn't you tell me to start with it?" That was the main part. I thought that was really comical. He nearly did lose it, and he said he washes his hands with them as well. So that's an interesting twist there. We'll see what happens with that. So yeah, we learn the Master's not dead, and they have to kill the Crimson Worm. Okay, so on to the next character scenes and character progression. So we got Eichhorst. So being that the Bolivar died, the Strig are, I guess, out of control. So we have a scene where Zach is in his jail cell, and a strigoi breaks in, just about to get him, and Kelly, his mum, saves him. Then she starts to, she loses control. She's going to sting Zach as well. And then Eichhorst comes in. So it's an interesting little, the Russian doll scenario there onto the next one. And that's interesting too. I think maybe that's a bit of a hint as to what happened after that point. But we see after that, a few more scenes happen, but we see Eichhorst in a very comical scene trying to rally the strigoi. I found that a very comical scene. And then it was interesting too how we saw him put the C4 into a few of them. And a few of them did listen. Eventually, I think he must have got the message across, gave them some orders. So they went in. A few of them went into, I guess, the police headquarters, sent them back to work because they were freshly turned as well. They still looked very human as opposed to being very pale and, strigoi-like. And they actually managed to do what he wanted and killed quite a lot of police, unfortunately. So, they nearly took out Justine. And that was an interesting scene as well, how, Fett managed to see the worm and he was destroying it with the ultraviolet light as it went in. He just got it just in time, but it was touch and go whether it actually did, separate or implant, whatever it does inside the body. It was still questionable if she survived or not. But yeah, good to see she survived. Unfortunately, a lot of police didn't. But yeah, interesting twist as well on her attitude. I'll talk about that in a second as well. And then let's talk about Gus and Angel and what happened with those two. So they're still part of that chain gang. So they were taken by the police or the security or the guards, whatever you want to call them, and they got sent off to the tunnels to clear the tunnels with some other people. Gus and Angel are obviously very good at what they do, so they survived pretty much without a problem. But yeah, interesting to see how completely pointless that whole thing is. And also another interesting point too, that Justine Feraldo knew nothing about that. It was more the police chief that was doing that. So interesting that she now is aware of it, and she went to visit them. And after Gus and Angel had their encounter, and they did mention as well how they noticed the strigoi are almost leaderless, and that was interesting to see that they noted that, because I thought the fight, it wasn't, I mean, whilst it was obvious it was individuals, they could have exaggerated that a bit more to get the point across. But yeah, it worked nevertheless. But yeah, interesting conversation between Gus and Justine. Well, it wasn't really a conversation, it was more of a stare. You know, he didn't need to say anything to explain to her what was going on. And is it a good thing? Obviously not. So hopefully she picked up on that as well, and it's actually going to action something to stop that situation. Because if anything, that's just feeding the strigoi more people easily. It's just silly. I mean, they're not even arming them with any decent weapons. It's ridiculous. Okay, so there's two more main things that happened at the start of the episode. Justine Feraldo has an interview with some reporters. I mean, there's not many reporters left, but what's left kind of visit her to try and document and track what's happening with the New York. So interesting that they knew more than she did. So they really threw her a curveball there, saying, you know, what's happening with these chain gangs? We're hearing prisoners running off to die in the tunnels without any weapons. It was very interesting that she knew nothing about that. And also they mentioned losing ground when she's been obviously saying we're winning ground. So that's a very interesting spin there, that you know, a lot of people saying negative when she's saying positive. So what's the real situation? Then we have the C4. So that C4 that was in the Eichhorst put in the strigoi. One of them I mentioned before, but so it explodes and sends the worms everywhere. One of them goes into Justine Feraldo's eye, but Fat manages to burn it before it actually does what it needs to do to spread. And she spent a good few hours thinking that she was gone. She was on the verge of finishing herself. She had the gun ready to go and talking as if that was going to happen, but Ephraim gave her a clean bill of health, so she was fine. And that gave her, I guess, she mentioned it was a moment of clarity. I don't know really, I thought it would be more of a plan, using the light in a way to attack the strigoi as opposed to resolving the reporter issue. So what she did with that moment of clarity, she took a whole bunch of cops, went to see the reporter that I guess really annoyed her and is going to publish a really negative news story about her and the situation. She says, you know, you're not going to do any good doing this, which I can understand, but in essence you need to release the truth anyway, even if it is damning. But she stops it. She says, okay, we're going to take all your information, and then she arrests her. So that reporter is probably going to go in the chain gang also. But anyway, is that the right decision? No, but it is also a very tricky situation that she's in. I can understand why she did it, but in saying that, if she let the truth get out, maybe the government will be more supportive of her. But who knows, right? It's all an interesting situation. Interesting to see where it will go. Is there going to be anyone else to pick up the story that the reporter was doing? What is Justine Feraldo's plan now? She seems that she has, I guess, a new lease on life from that. So I wonder if that'll be positive or negative. At the moment, I think it seems negative. What she did, whilst I can understand her reasoning, I think it's quite negative. Okay, now on to the real final scene. So this was a scene where Dutch and Ephraim were, I guess, going to get more booze and going to get some food, and there was a strigoi in the back of the car. Now they get the strigoi out, or kind of falls out, and Ephraim is about to shoot it, and the master takes over. So number one, we get confirmation the master is back in a human form, because I don't think that the Crimson Worm has that power. It needs to, as the ancients mentioned, they noted his power went down, but I'm pretty sure that the Crimson Worm alone does not have the power to transmit the thought to a strigoi like that. So the master has a new host. Very interesting line as well. Obviously Ephraim saying, "Where is Zach? I want Zach back." And the master says, "Always with me." Now, that is an interesting line, and it's really open to suggestion. For me, there's two ways to look at that. On one hand, he's just trying to get Ephraim upset and to make a mistake. That is definitely one possibility. So he could be doing that, he's just trying to get him to make a foolish mistake. Try and maybe get the lumen, grab the lumen and go and see them as quickly as possible, just so he does something really emotional from that conversation. On the other side of it, and this is probably, I think, quite likely, the suggestion for me was more this side than the other, is that always with me means that Zach has been taken over by the Crimson Worm. Now, that is an interesting plot twist. And I guess another point to add to that is, as I mentioned before, when the master died, Zach was in that jail cell. You had that strigoi break into that room. Kelly saved him. And then Kelly was going to take Zach. And then Eichhorst saved Zach again. So as I said before, it's like the Chinese dolls, one inside another. And I just kind of get the feeling that maybe that happened again. That Eichhorst was saying, well, we don't need him. And then maybe he got the thought from the Crimson Worm, or however the Crimson Worm works, it then took over Zach. This is just a theory, but an interesting one at that. So for me, at the moment I'm saying the Crimson Worm took over Zach. Now, very controversial, very divisional idea, this plot twist. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I had a few people, I guess, reach out to me from my last episode review, so the season 3, episode 3, when Bolivar died. Now, as I've mentioned before, I don't follow the novel. I haven't read the novel. I want to save that till I've finished the TV series. But many people have. And the people that have read the novels were very upset by that last episode, because I guess this is spoilers around the novel, but Bolivar didn't die like that in the novel. So I guess a lot of people were upset, and people mentioned they don't want to see Zach or Kelly turn into the master. And it's just interesting. I guess if you're not following the novel, it's a quite likely situation. But if you have read the novel, then you might be quite upset by where this is going, because I really think that, on one hand, Zach is probably the new master, or possibly it is Kelly, because maybe the whole "always with me" was more of a comment about how, if Kelly is now with the master, that her thoughts are still his, so that's a kind of a thought, a suggestion of the mother to the son. So that's obviously another way to look at it as well. But very controversial plot twist if it is those two, because I know a lot of people will not like it. But I guess for the people that are just watching the TV show, very cool, interesting, what's happening. But on the other side, for the people that read the novel, I can feel your pain, because I can understand the frustration of, I guess, when books go too far off the main old story. And I guess I had that with Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. I've known the same situation, and I feel your pain. But anyway, overall, it was a good episode. A lot of, I guess, character development, plot development. We know more about the Master now. Quinlan knows more about the Master. A lot of character progression has happened. I think probably the biggest thing is really Justine Feraldo and what she's going to do because I think that's going to be an interesting episode next episode around her. Maybe they'll progress more with the chain gangs, or maybe she'll cancel that and do something else. It's going to be interesting because, yeah, her moment of clarity, I think there's more to that than we've been led on at the moment. But yeah, very cool episode. All the acting was pretty good. Standout couple characters for me this time. Probably the actress that plays Justine Feraldo, which is Samantha Mathis. I thought she was really good. I really liked her, I guess, when she thought it was over, when she thought she was had the worms inside her. That was a pretty good scene. And as usual, Eichhorst and Satrakian both have fantastic lines. Almost every scene with those two, whether they're together or with other characters, it's comical and it makes me grin, and it's delivered really well. So I really like those characters. But yeah, overall, good episode. As I said, very controversial for the people that have read the novel. Interesting to see you'll hear your thoughts on that. So put some comments below. Are you going to continue watching? Is this a point where you're going to say no more? If Zach is now the new master, that's it. I'm not going to watch it anymore. Interesting to know your feedback. So put that below. I hope you liked the video. As I've said before, I'm getting a camera sorted so it's not just always still images. I'll put my ugly mug in the video in the future, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, subscribe for more content from myself, and until next time, cheerio.